Okay, we're now on to the last match of the league that I just joined. So we're on to match 5. We're currently 1-3 through the league. We lost our first match against Ascanta Miracles, one against Rug Delver, one against Dredge, one against Grixis Delver. So we made our money back now. We're just now playing the last match of the league to see if we can get a 4-1 and actually end up. As I feel is probably becoming a little traditional for me, I lost the die roll. I'm sure that's just a little bit of confirmation bias involved in that. I just remember the times I lose the die roll, but it always seems like I'm losing it. And we're going to open a really great hand here. We have Disruption, we have combo pieces. We'd like it if the pedal was something different. But that's fine. So opponents lead on Tundra, Scalding Tarn and then Tundra. We can only assume it's Miracles. It'll be the probably red, white, blue build, Jeskai build. I'm guessing if they're running Scalding Tarns. So we have too many LEDs. We can get rid of one of them. And we're going to hold on to the pedal here now, just given what our hand is starting to shape up like. Just because it means that so we can, like, next turn maybe go cantrip, or something like cantrip, find tutor, cast duress. Casting preordained tips our opponent off about what we're playing, but we're okay with that. We're expecting to probably win quite soon from here. I wouldn't mind finding another piece of disruption. If they're Miracles, they probably have something like Force of Will Counterspell. Past in Flames is the same as a piece of disruption effectively within our deck. It plays the part of, nice thing with Past in Flames, I think I've said it before, it always plays the part of basically any other combo piece. So we can use it as a ritual, we can use it as a discard spell. Sometimes we can use it as an engine if we've got a graveyard full of cantrips. We'd probably rather not do that. If we don't have to, it's something you normally only do if you're pressured, or you feel like you've got enough mana and enough cantrips in your graveyard to be able to find what you need. But it's just a highly functional card. And I wouldn't be surprised if wouldn't have been surprised if our opponent brainstormed there, just to make sure that when he ships the turn again, he has as much mana open as possible. I'm going to shuffle that. We need a tutor. And our opponent has Force of Will, Snare. So they're playing Spell Snare, which is interesting. So we're going to pass the turn. And we're going to duress them obviously in our next turn. Okay. So I don't know if this was a good idea from our opponent. They're going Snap Ponder. By doing this, they no longer have mana for Spell Snare up, unless, I guess, if they find another land. On the flip side, we're in a position where we can possibly beat... Yeah, so we should be able to beat Force of Will, Spell Snare. We should be able to beat Force of Will here easily. Purely just because we have so many pieces. So I think he forced a little too early. And we're actually able to just shoot a chain for... Yep, okay, cool. He just scoops now. We're going to bring in... Should be something like 1 Disfigure, 2 Decays, and maybe a Xantid Swarm, maybe not. Yeah, so an extra therapy if we don't. We're hoping that he doesn't have the huge amounts of decays. The huge amounts of canonists. Yeah, cool. There we go. So we're playing 3 therapy, 3 duress, 1 Xantid Swarm for this match. If he sees the swarm, we'll change it to a therapy again. And we just, we're going to hope that we have enough removal for the canonists. There's an argument for 4 pieces of removal. Against the 2 to 3 canonists, it's easier to... Though we're reasonably well equipped to normally play through his counter magic, so obviously having the disruption to cut through his canonists is useful. That's a horrible hand. This one is not great, but we will keep it, and we unfortunately have to ship the duress. Possible maybe we should have kept that and just kept playing draw go for a while. But then that leaves us in trouble if there's a canonist. So this hand is currently shaping up as a hand that we probably would have wanted to keep the duress for. Especially with what our opponent's currently doing. Okay, and now, yep, we're glad we shipped the duress. What we'd really like right now is probably a brainstorm. However, our opponent is repping Red Blast pretty hard there. Alright, so we're going to fire off this probe. It's probably going to get red blasted. But that's not the end of the world right now. Yep, okay, there we go. Unfortunately, it's looking like this is just going to get closed out by a Canonist the way this is going. Okay, surgically probe, we're not... I don't think that's a super great idea. I guess it gives him a good look at our library and what to expect, and what kind of hand he should probably sculpt, but I'm not sure probe is a card you want to be casting surgical on. So I think as soon as we can find a way to kill the Canonist, we're looking really good. Okay, now we're actually under a lot of pressure. So we're going to have to hope Brainstorm resolves and hope it finds us something. And it finds us two something, so we'll pit back the tutor and probably, I think a tutor and an LED should be what we put back. And we should cast the LED for turn. So I think putting back the Xantid Swarm was incorrect. I think, okay, so if our opponent... So they bash in for... Yeah, okay, so the Swarm would never get a chance to get online. So it's fine to put the Swarm back. By the time our opponent has actually crashed in, although on the flip side, maybe we should have kept it purely to give us an extra therapy. Oh, okay, so we get it anyway. And so we're going to ignore the first Flusterstorm. And just therapy again. It's possible we should have cast Xantid Swarm here. The reason being... he might not surgical therapy. So we've named Force of Will. The reason we named Force of Will is he's more likely to have Force of Will than another Flusterstorm, as we haven't seen any Force of Wills so far. Unfortunately, that means that we're going to lose, because he now has Fluster Spell Snare up. So the other logical one, I guess both Fluster and Snare were fine. I guess we just wish that we really had Dark Petition instead of Infernal Tutor, really. Just so we can dodge Snare. And here we just have to do whatever we can. Our opponent's going to Fluster, and we're just going to scoop it up. So we're going to cut the Swarm and change it back for a Therapy. And we're just going to run back the same list. And unfortunately that's horrible, so we're going to have to mulligan. We keep drawing Tendrils for some reason in our opening hands, which is really frustrating. As unfortunately, look, it's not a complete blank. And against decks like the one that we're playing today, it's pretty... A natural Tendrils can be quite strong. But I think it's something we'd rather find through the course of the game. So at the moment, I think we just have to play our land and pass. We don't want to run into a red blast at the moment. We're a bit fragile. And here we're going to brainstorm. We should have brainstormed when they fetched, but we know they're fetching and pondering, so we'll just fire off our brainstorm here. So I think we need to pitch a Tutor. Possibly should have pitched a Tutor as well, just to keep mana up. If we can keep making our land drops, we might. Although we do risk running into the same issue that we had in our first match of this league, where we just flood on lands. So the next land we fetch needs to be a Trop. Which isn't going to be an issue, because now we no longer need to fetch a Trop as our next land, because we've found 4 so far. Okay, we can afford to lose the life at the moment. We're curious as to what our opponent... Yeah, okay, so our opponent has... It's basically the exact hand we don't want to see. With multiple Flusters and Snares and an Aethersworn Canonist, just to make life really miserable for us here. It is technically possible to win this match. We will need multiple Cabal therapies. Their hand is good enough that it's actually worth starting to run out Infernal Tutors to grab more Duresses at the moment, in the hope that if they don't burn counter magic, then they then obviously we can just build a hand that will cut through them. Yeah, so their hand's awful. Oh, it's awful for us, obviously. We're now on a reasonably fast clock here, and drawing everything we don't want to see. So I think we have to start firing off these tutors. We'd rather the tutors resolve instead of they get countered, just because it helps us thin a little bit and we can deal with all the crap anyway. Our opponent's going to play an Ambush Viper. So our opponent might let this... No, okay. So they're down to 4 cards in hand, but we're down to realistically what's going to be something like... Probably once we fetch, maybe... Was it 4, 6... Yes, we don't have long here. So I really don't see a way we can actually win this. Our opponent's going to take our Infernal Tutor, that's fine. We will cast Abrupt Decay at end of turn. And then I think we're going to lose the game. They still have a couple of Flusterstorms and a couple of Force of Wills. Storm's not normally a deck that cares terribly about huge amounts of counter magic, but this is one of those times where you can just get overloaded. And there's not really any point in trying to beat that, so we'll just concede.